Welcome to the Wingate Advantage with Brandon Wingate, your weekly source for smart insights on real estate, business, investing, and building wealth right here in Middle Tennessee. Now here's your host, Brandon Wingate.
What's going on, guys? I'm excited about this show today because I love having guests, and I've got one today. I'm Brandon Wingate. This is the Wingate Advantage. We talk about investing, real estate, business on this show. Hopefully you guys are getting something out of it. We're trying to teach you here some of the lessons we might have learned along the way. So maybe you don't make the same ones, but you can take some good advice along the way. Myself, I am the broker and owner of the Wingate Group real estate firm here in McMinnville, Tennessee. I also have been investing in commercial and residential real estate since 2008. I flipped many homes, flipped apartment complexes, kept apartment complexes and commercial real estate for cash flow, remodeled those as well in commercial. I'm also a licensed contractor. So got a lot of experience that I try to bring you. And today I have someone that's probably more experienced than I am, actually. So I can't wait for you guys to meet him. One of our very own real estate agents at the Wingate Group, Joe Anish. He is very experienced, like I said. We are going to cover some big topics today that I can't wait to bring you. But first, anytime before I ever get started with all this, I bring you guys a message from the ancient book that I lean in on constantly. There's so much in that book that I just want to highlight what that book has to offer and how it applies to life. And so here we go. We've got Proverbs 6:6-8. Now, before I start, this is the reason I'm bringing up this particular message. Here on this show, we try to help you understand that this is not a get-rich-quick situation that you guys might be in and all of us are in. The system's built to steal our time, and time is the most important thing to us in our families. We may have a short period of time on this earth, we don't know. So when using that time, that's our biggest asset for ourselves. Now, in order to gain that time back for most of us, we have to work hard with the right types of investments. We have to spend our time in the right way to grab some of that back so that this system that we're in that forces us to trade our time for someone else, to trade our time for that dollar for us to be able to survive, we have to work hard to get out of that. So I'm not telling you this is a get-rich-quick situation, okay? So, verse for the day, go to the ant. Now, they're talking, the Lord is talking to people who struggle with laziness, okay? It says, go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise without having any chief, officer, or ruler. She prepares her bread in the summer and gathers her food in harvest. Now this ant just does it. Wakes up, if we're comparing ourselves, we wake up, we get the job done, we do what we need to do. Nobody has to push us. There shouldn't be a boss that, has to say, you're not doing that right, or get up and work. We shouldn't have to have someone that makes us accountable. So be like the ant, okay? Work without somebody telling you to work. If you go into the entrepreneurship side of things, this verse you need to look at multiple times. You have to be your own source of motivation. So when we come back from this advertisement, we are going to meet Joe, and we are going to interview someone with a wealth of knowledge, and we're going to go over some very important topics. Talk to you soon.
premium Black Angus beef raised right here in McMinnville. Hutchins Land and Cattle has fresh-to-freezer farm-raised beef you can trust. They also provide professional brush hogging, tilling, and hauling services. Quality, reliability, local pride. Hutchins Land and Cattle, serving Warren County and the surrounding communities one job at a time. Call today 931-314-9098.
It's Insecto Exterminators! Bug out, guys!
Got some unwanted guests in or around your home?
You can have this house! It's got Insecto Exterminators for protection!
Call Insecto Exterminators today.
Insecto Exterminators has got you covered. Local professional service you can trust.
Do's and don'ts in the investment world. We've got lessons learned. We're going to talk about partnerships. We're going to talk about some of the best investments that Joe and I might have done. And we're going to bring some good content this way. So let's welcome Joe Anish with Wingate Group.
Thank you for having me on, Brian.
Yeah,
really appreciate this.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So Joe, all right, real quick, what I know about you is that you've been in McMinnville for 35 years. You're a graduate of East Tennessee State, and you got a bachelor's of science, public relations, and speech communication. So you're going to sound a lot more educated than I do on this radio. And it looks like you might have been, from your background, you said your father was into a lot of this as a maybe a contractor.
Contractor, yes.
Okay. And you saw him do a lot of this type of real estate work and things. So sounds like you might have been inspired by your father.
Absolutely. I mean, my dad was a big influence as far as the work ethics and then the development, especially growing up in South Florida where construction was just overwhelming. It's just a constant growth. And areas that they said they would never be developed were developed in years out instead of decades.
Right.
So seeing that mass amount of development and being hands-on with him, working as a young child all the way through and learning the techniques and the skill level, and then working my way up through the system, not only was I able to work with him, but also the people that he was developing for. So I got to see both sides of it, and those people became very close friends with him and really appreciated my hard work and ability to do some things as a young child or a teenager that they were kind of overwhelmed that, wow, this guy's got a lot going on.
So when did you start working for your dad?
Unfortunately, probably about 5 years old. Wow. It really wasn't a choice, you know, kind of listening to you, working with your dad and doing some mechanic work and whatnot. You're just kind of put in the place. So basically, he was my babysitter. And I had to go to the job, but he wasn't just going to let me play around. He put me to work.
Right. Awesome. So you've got, tell me a little bit more details about yourself. You've got 3 children.
Yeah, I have 3 girls. 2 of them are twins, and then a younger one that's 7 years old, Ayla, Ashlyn, and Emery. A lot of people probably know them out there. They're entrepreneurs as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Owning their own businesses or
That's
creative enough that they manage their monies through selling what they have to offer.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So I have a few. So you've been a long-time investor. You're a real estate owner, whether it be, homes or whatever. You've been a property manager, a business owner as well. You've got all kinds of years of experience. So tell me a little bit about what actually, I know you saw your dad. So what was it about that maybe, or anyone else that really got you interested in real estate?
I remember a particular gentleman I met probably when I was, a teenager. He was a school teacher, principal at that too. And during the summertime, his primary job then was to build duplexes, triplexes. He had his contractor's license, but my dad actually did all of his work for him. Okay. Seeing that, he was offering these multifamily houses, renting them out as quick as he was building them. That stimulated my first interest in it.
Yeah.
And then in high school, I worked for my teacher who ended up getting his contractor's license and eventually became the largest custom home builder in the state of Florida.
Wow.
So he had a lot of influence, and he definitely tried to steer me away from going to college, to side of the fact that, I really wanted out of Florida.
Yeah.
That would have kept me there for sure. And like I said, as big as this company got, I think I would have been right there with him with the growth, but never met my wife.
So you said that almost tried to talk you out of going to college?
Oh, yeah. He was definitely mentoring me. I ended up working for him in another company he had prior to the construction industry. He's also my teacher, but he really said, I've already done that.
Yeah.
I've been through it. Here I am. Now I'm getting into construction.
Yeah.
The experience that I previously had, he saw how I could benefit him. So I worked for him construction as well during college.
Okay.
When I'd come home on the weekends and stuff like that.
That's a great point. Glad you brought that up because, with my own kids, I tell them, they don't have to go to college to be successful. I recommend that they do go, especially if it's going along with your natural talents. But in the real estate realm and construction world, there are so many opportunities. It's unbelievable that you really don't have to go to college for. If you've got hands-on experience, and I'm talking to the ones I have spoke to so many people that say, well, I just don't know if I'm smart enough to do that. Well, I'm here to tell you that, a degree really has nothing to do with it. And a lot of this can be common sense and just hands-on experience. So that's a great point that you brought up for sure. So what was your first investment? You saw the duplexes. Was it a duplex?
Almost. The actual first investment was my home that I was going to live in, but it had a tiny apartment behind it. So it put me in as a landlord right away.
Yeah.
I was excited about that because it gave me an opportunity to kind of get the feel for it.
Yeah.
The only effect that it sort of had that I didn't plan on was it was someone else's tenant when I purchased the property. So therefore, I didn't really know him.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
As a small investor. That would have been my ultimate goal would to have been vetted the tenant to be that person that I felt comfortable living 30 feet from me.
Right.
Not that I didn't with him, I just didn't know him as well as I expected on a small scale. Now, once we got into buying and selling and living or managing properties, you don't get to know them as well. But as a first investment, that would have been the ideal situation for me to have.
Right. So were you nervous about this situation?
Yeah, to some degree, because here's somebody living on your property, very close to where you're at, and invading on your space. But it was no different than living in an apartment or a dorm room or something like that in college. But the nervousness was, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the legal thing? Am I telling them when rent's due that he maybe didn't pay right away or something, and tell them the right responses. So getting into it in that sense and staying within the guidelines with codes and stuff like that. So that was a little nerve-wracking.
So obviously you had to be smart about it, though, and in case they didn't pay, you had to know that you could float the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in any investment, you have to be able to back it in some state.
Right. That would be pretty much what you would change. If you had anything to change, you would have preferred to know and be able to vet the tenant yourself.
Yeah,
instead of walking into somebody.
I think that's important when you, especially if you get anyone into the new, let's say you're going to be in the residential leasing world in a small town like McMinnville, but knowing your tenant, vetting them, some background information on them, check on them, know what their routine is and stuff like that. Don't be prying in on them. Give them some space.
Right.
But it's just kind of like checking your money in the bank. Make sure that it's there. Make sure your investment is right. That matches with you and your type of investment.
Right. So was there a point, especially maybe looking back when you were new at investing, was there a point where you thought, I'm just going to quit. This might not be the right thing to do?
I still feel that every day.
Don't quit, Joe.
No, but you've got to second guess yourself. Yeah. And if you're not second guess yourself, then you're an absentee owner.
Yeah.
Because you have to constantly double check what you're plan is, but you have to update it. And you have to look at it as not only a daily plan, weekly, monthly, but yearly, and revisit that because the market's going to change. You're going to change. Your tenant mix is going to change, especially when you get into the commercial world of leasing and having partners and stuff like that, that everything has to.
And I want everybody to know that to hear this type of stuff, I mentioned on my first podcast that there just wasn't anyone like Joe, for instance, that I personally had or knew of to talk to. So these pieces of information that he's throwing out, just that in the confidence side of things, because, I asked him, do you still, and he said, he still questions himself to this day, which is the truth, because I do as well. There are moments where you're going to reach challenges, you're going to have turnovers, you're going to have things that happen, just like when I mentioned that game, that roll of dice. You don't know if you're going to land on some situation like life that is unpredictable, and you just can't stop it, okay? And you've got to be able to get through it and deal with it. But, these little nuggets here, you need to cherish these, because I do, and that means a lot to know that someone like Joe that's been investing longer than me still has those moments, because sometimes it gets pretty darn hard. So what lesson from the first investment still affects how you invest today?
I'm going to skip that first one with the tiny apartment, but my real first big investment, which was a family-owned business that I purchased from my father-in-law, multiple car wash locations here in McMinnville, Sparta, Cookeville, Livingston. So being that they were so spread out, and you need to visit them on a regular basis. Yeah, I think the biggest lesson or thing that I would change in that, being that I was just getting into it, I had to get the feel for it. I had to understand the equipment, I had to understand the aspect of the car wash business, as well as putting the right people in those positions that you really don't see every day, but you have to trust them. Yeah. So hiring the right person in the right place doesn't always happen at the right time. For sure. Fortunately, we had a guy that worked for us here that could run the show, and he had worked for my father-in-law prior to. So that balance with him here in McMinnville was a plus by any means. So the investment side of that would have been that maybe at the time biting off a little more than I could chew. Yeah. And it ate up a lot of time, And that's how you started out. Time is money.
Absolutely.
And so having the right people in the right place is critical, but it's sometimes hard to find that.
All right. So when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit more of maybe some of the surprises he ran into, which one were some of his best investments. As soon as we come back, talk to you soon.
Easy chicks for free. Easy money.
Looking for reliable property services in McMinnville? T&Z Property Solutions has you covered. From mowing and landscaping to junk removal and even demolition, no job is too big or too small. They truly make your mess their mission. With T&Z, one call does it all. Contact T&Z Property Solutions today and let the professionals handle the hard work.
931-743-9079.
Hello, I'm Brandon Wingate with the Wingate Group, real estate firm, McMinnville, Tennessee. I wanted to come to you today to let you know that there is a brokerage out there built for the success of agents. Are you tired of giving away a lot of your commission, hard-earned commission, when you're doing all you can to serve your clients? Well, we want you at our brokerage because I'm here to help you succeed. We have a 100% commission structure. We have an awesome brokerage. We have the Wingate Advantage radio show and podcast, which is generating leads and business like crazy. And I want to hand this off to you. I want to help you succeed. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Welcome back. All right. So we're going to get into some more stuff here. So we were just talking about the team member. You were building, basically what you were saying is you were building your team at that point in time, and that became extremely important on managing a property. So tell me, just kind of run through a few properties that you have owned as far as investment properties, a few types of businesses too.
Primarily, it first started with residential ownership, but to lease those back out to tenants. Okay. Had a partner on that. The ideal situation would have been that we took those residential properties that were in a area that could be zone C2, was to turn them from residential to commercial, and then benefit off of the value added as it went to commercial instead of just residential, and be able to put retail in there. Whether we kept those houses as retail and or tore them down to build a strip center was the key idea. Unfortunately, the road that they were on had plans to expand. Money and funds got tight for the state and city, and it never formulated. So then the road is just a 2-lane highway, and it has a real difficult time to churn across the road, egress, whatnot. But it's a very busy main road here in town between Walmart and Chancery Street.
You know, that's interesting that it didn't quite turn out. I would say, a lot of times it definitely can. If the egress, parking, all this types of stuff turns out and you buy this property as residential, ends up being commercial, that can definitely pay off. Now, sometimes you got to fight for it, like I mentioned on my situation out there in Texas, but it can definitely pay off. And there's some people out there that specifically look for that over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
So what are some of the other properties you owned as well?
Well, as far as ownership, purchased 7 car wash locations, as I mentioned, from my father-in-law, family-owned business. Okay. And then a chemical supply company or car wash supply company. So that was a different entity, but owning the equipment and the business itself. I mentioned getting into some residential real estate and did some house flipping and purchased residentials just to flip.
Okay.
Eventually got into a few commercial properties out of town, Sparta, Cookeville. But the big purchase, or the best purchase, would have been prior to the big boom in Murfreesboro. Went in with some partners there, and I was going to actually do a car wash at the location. But once I went through the site plan work and met with the city, they had another idea as far as the egress and stackability and amount of washes and vacuums, and my numbers just didn't work.
Gotcha.
So reevaluated and looked at it as putting a strip center in there. But the numbers also increased. So that's when I decided to ask a friend of mine to go in partnership and do a development on approximately about 11,000 square foot strip center in the heart of Murfreesboro.
Now, I want to hit on that. You just mentioned site plan. This is another little key information here. When you guys, if you ever look for anything that requires you to disturb the landscape because you need to build here, you need to make some changes, you really dig into the site plan stuff. That can, excavation can really blow your budget out of the water. It's amazing. It was a surprise to me on a couple of places, for sure.
Absolutely. One, just the initial costs for them to come out and do the site plan work, engineered and going through the process to get it approved for the city. But there's so much unseen underneath that ground. And you get into Murfreesboro, it's rock. It is rocky.
Yes.
Fortunately, we had very little to contend with, but we were able to meet our goal. Building right beside us, they started at the same time, blasted for 2 months to try to get the rock to put their footings in, to get it on grade. So, you never know. It's unforeseen, and that's part of, an investment expense.
So I went to go build a house here in town, bought the property, great deal. And as I walked the property, I noticed there was maybe a few rocks, and I'm like, okay, nothing unusual. All of a sudden, I'm digging a footer for this home, and I dig down maybe 6 inches into the dirt, and it's just boom, my excavator just hits this solid rock. So I'm like, okay, well, let me move over a little bit. Boom, hits another solid rock. I'm like, oh boy. I end up having to jackhammer through rock and all this crazy stuff just to build my footer Now, the house was built upon a rock, so that's good. But,
Yeah.
but it ended up costing me way more for me to even start the footer than I ever dreamed was going to happen. That was a crazy nightmare situation. So sometimes you can get surprises like that. It ended up still turning out. I didn't make as much money on the resale as I thought because of that first initial extra investment, but it still worked out. But yeah, my numbers are off from the beginning.
What's so strange when you talk about that and hitting rock, and growing up in South Florida, it was all sugar sand. In fact, it was low lying or kind of swampy.
Yeah.
So they'd bring in fill, mostly sugar sand, and we'd build put these monolithic slabs on the sugar sand. And I'm like, there's no way that could work.
Yeah.
And those houses are there 40 years later,
know,
but
crazy.
it's just a little different concept.
Yeah. Which one out of this list of different properties you've done, different types of businesses, which one was the best investment?
I really feel like that investment in the Murfreesboro area was the best investment. For one, we saw it from the start phase. As I mentioned, my construction background, I'm not a contractor. I'm not able to build it, but I worked side by side with the contractor. Yeah. And they felt very confident with my skill level. I was very impressed with their skill level. But be able to work through the whole process and know that building inside and out.
Yeah.
Then as the landlords, being able to identify problems.
Right.
Knowing everything about that building.
For sure.
And when there's an issue, a problem, be able to put it either on the drawing or in my head from where we were at that particular time, what the cause of that problem. That helps tremendously.
Right.
And a lot of people that own their home eventually get to that point, even if they didn't build it, but they've been there long enough to know the ins and outs of that. I think that's key with anything, but that's kind of like owning a car.
For sure.
Or like you, owning a classic car or anything like that. You've got to know that vehicle inside and out.
Yeah.
But not only do you have to see it, you have to listen to it. You have to listen to your customers, your tenants, but also the building. I know that sounds kind of strange, but you walk by an HVAC system and you hear kind of rattle. You might know the fan motor starting to go out.
Yep.
You hear it kind of buzzing or clicking when it kicks on. The capacitor might be going out.
Yeah.
Then you call your licensed professional, but at least you can lead them and tell them kind of what's going on, instead of just say it's just not working right.
Right.
So knowing, it's a relationship. Just like with your spouse.
It is. And that's one thing I want to hit on as well. From my experience, that's exactly what he's saying here. Obviously, if you're talking about the AC making a noise, you wanted to be on top of that maintenance situation. To me personally, that's the way I run my businesses, the way I run my locations. I stay on top of the maintenance as much as possible. Now, I've had electrical surges that messed up AC units, all kinds of different crazy stuff that just spawns. But you get on it quick because, especially in the commercial world, those businesses expect to be able to stay operating as good as possible. And so those types of things can get stressful at times. But again, the team, I can't stress that enough. The team you end up developing is so important because they get used to working with you. They end up respecting you, and maybe, you can tell them exactly, hey, I think this is what's happening. They can run out there and be prepared for whatever's happening. And so that team is extremely important as far as service to your customers.
Yeah. And that team also evolved with our partnership that I had on that particular location. I was really good with the maintenance and understanding the building.
Yeah.
One of the guys was really good with the books and managing the incoming and outgoing expenses. I pretty much formulated leases, and our third partner was a fill-in between the both.
Yeah.
So having that team along with your maintenance team that can fill those or solve those problems for you, that's real key important. It's hard to do it sometimes by yourself, and you're doing doing a great job.
Appreciate that. I can't say I'm by myself necessarily, but yeah, I appreciate that.
I see Brandon. He's get his hands in a lot of things in this town, and I really, as he says that I've got the experience. I really watch him and wish I had that same experience that he grew up with to put his enthusiasm into place. That's the best part about working with the Wingate group so far.
Thank you. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit more on partnerships and some property management. Maybe, go through some questions and things, get some key points out of that. So we will talk to you soon.
Savage Samurai Martial Arts, in affiliation with Team Legacy, is proud to announce the Blue Crew. This is an after-school program that provides homework assistance, as well as tutoring in areas specified by the parents that their individual students may struggle in. Followed up by instruction in martial arts training, contact the school directly at 931-473-5425.
Come on in and see us at Savage Samurai Martial Arts.
Premium Black Angus beef raised right here in McMinnville. Hutchins Land and Cattle has fresh-to-freezer farm-raised beef you can trust. They also provide professional brush hogging, tilling, and hauling services. Quality, reliability, local pride. Hutchins Land and Cattle, serving Warren County and the surrounding communities one job at a time. Call today 931-314-9098.
All right, let's get back to it. So to follow up on what we were just talking about and the portfolio and things that you had, my biggest question is, because we want to try to take note and figure out maybe there's something we want to avoid unless we are really familiar with that particular investment. We want to hear what was necessarily the nightmare situation that someone else ran into, so we can keep that in mind when we're out there looking for our first investment. So which one created the biggest headaches for you?
Biggest headaches probably would have been when I stepped into the managerial or property maintenance for my father-in-law as a family member. He didn't have a lot of leases in place. Old school handshakes, very short form leases. So there was a lot of open-end questions.
For sure.
So when I came on board with him, we had just obtained a big medium box type tenant that had a 34-page lease that I was kind of overwhelmed with. But be able to dissect that and see the pros and cons that were in that and be able to tweak that and then work with the existing tenants and getting them up to standard with some questions that need to be answered, particularly one that was a gas station and the tanks and the lines and the building, because it was a land lease. So the property was my father-in-law's, but the jobber investor came in to build the building, put the tanks in, put the lines in. But then there was a lot of questions. Who's responsible? Who's going to be responsible to the EPA or Superfund? Well, who's going to manage that if something happens to the owner of the land lease? And then the responsibility of the tanks, or someone may just vacate and go bankrupt. Then there's a lot of those kind of questions that we didn't really have paperwork to.
And those things happen all the time.
Fortunately, he was a very honest businessman, and he was able to work through with me. And his leases progressed, and he wanted their surety. So we worked really good together and put together a really good plan. So eventually, he did sell out, and the new owners took on that responsibility.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You really hit on something really important. Is that lease? And like I've mentioned, I've got about 50 different individuals, businesses leasing from me, through my apartment days of managing apartments and going basically from the ground up, finding these apartments that are to be improved and they are just a mess. And then you basically have to release the entire thing after remodel. My lease has grown, and like you said, you improve that over time. And I can't stress how important that lease is. And how important it is actually for one of those team members to be an attorney that can help you with a lease.
Absolutely.
To make sure you cover those areas that will pop up eventually, and be able to take care of that in a smooth manner as smooth as possible. On top of that, it makes communication with your tenant clearer, because anybody can shake hands in good old boy kind of way, which I've actually run into a lot here in the McMinnville area when taking over a property. That is a challenge every single time because that happens a lot. That's great. I love the sound of that. But plain and simple fact is you can get in an argument with your best friend. You said this. No, I didn't say that. And so that can happen. So that happens so much with those type of handshake deals or a very minimal lease that's signed. Too much is left open-ended. It can really cause problems. And so it's just best to have a really strong lease, and so that everybody knows how we need to conduct this situation.
Yeah, and it goes two ways. I mean, you as the landlord want the strong lease, but as a tenant, you definitely want that strong lease because there's some benefits
Good point.
every time in a lease for the
Absolutely.
tenant. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the law. So having that in writing and having that available to you, it's not he said, she said.
Yes,
it becomes very definitive, and you're able to work through it much easier than just what we talked about.
Yeah. Even when it comes down to maintenance, I know in the commercial side of things, sometimes it's not uncommon for maintenance or a portion of the maintenance to be on that business that's renting because their business may bring in hundreds of people daily. You never know what kind of business it is. And so that wear and tear and everything. So that's why, if a landlord was to have to keep up with the maintenance that particular business required or caused, that is sometimes just doesn't happen. So sometimes maintenance is shared. Sometimes maintenance is completely on the tenant in triple net lease situations, things like that. So the lease is an important thing. But let's talk about, you mentioned partnerships. I've been in several myself. I am not in one right now. You've had multiple partners, it sounds like. What makes a good partner?
I think a good partner, to me, the way that I work, is really someone who can put in the same effort that I do. Not necessarily physically or on the maintenance side of it, but that they're doing the books or seeing after the tenants, that you have a good kind of ABC schedule on who's responsible for what.
Yeah.
And reevaluate that as often as possible. Have meetings, discuss everyone's role, discuss what you're going to enact on.
Yeah.
And then the partner's following through. That is key.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but but know right up on the front end. If you have a silent partner, you know kind of what to expect. They're there for investment.
So explain a silent partner.
Silent partner would be more of someone investing with you, giving either the same amount of investment or a different split to give you a lead or them a lead.
Yeah.
But then they're not so much hands-on and or visiting the location.
Right.
Really doing the daily work. Their investment is the money.
So the silent partner, and I've been the silent and I've experienced not being the silent partner. So a lot of times a silent partner, in my experience, will have the majority of the money that it requires to purchase that property. They're literally the investor side of things. And, I would have put in the sweat equity or whatever, or use my experience, say your experience with management or something like that, that comes into play. You didn't necessarily, or I didn't necessarily have to invest as much money into that. Somebody else did. And that is their risk, because if it all goes wrong, really the guy who invested the most money or all the money really has the highest risk. He could lose all that. So that has to be respected in a silent partner situation. Sometimes it's not. And so, guys, if you guys partner to help get into the commercial world, the investing world, the house flipping world, you don't necessarily have to have the money. You can have partners. That partner could even be parents, family members that are willing and know you and are willing to take a risk with you. And just so you know, respect that they were able to provide that. Yes, you're going to get out there and you're going to sweat, blood, sweat, and tears. You're going to hit your fingers with hammers, whatever. And you're going to think, man, one day I'd like to be in their position. But don't give them any less respect because they're not out there because they probably were at one point in time to get to where they are. So if you want to keep rolling forward, you're going to need money at different times. Those silent partners, those investors, extremely important.
Absolutely. Again, back to just like a tenant, vetting your partner.
Yeah.
But make it very clear right off the front end who's responsible for what. But as time changes, that may also mandate that other responsibilities are taken on by the partner.
Yeah.
So the mistake would be not getting that out front.
Yes.
The best part of clarifying that is I've had a partner and say, I am not going to do any work. I'm physically here to manage some of the entities of the property, but physical work is not my game. And knowing that right up front, being clear with that, it was never expected.
Yeah.
So therefore we went on and you kind of go, how does that work? Well, it works well. It works well. But if you get that conflict where you're saying, yeah, I'm willing to do half, I'll do it, and then you don't get that half, then it becomes a little edgy.
Yes.
And that doesn't always work
For
out.
sure. Yeah.
So I'd rather just know that right up front, settle on that, and take that responsibility on your percentage of responsibility.
When we come back, we've got several questions, almost like a rapid fire type question for Joe. It's going to be interesting. Talk to you soon.
That ain't working. That's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV.
Hi, I'm Mason Nova with the Wingate Group, LLC, your local real estate resource here in East Tennessee. Whether you're looking in Knoxville, Gatlinburg, or anywhere in between, I'm here to guide you through every step. You can reach our office at 931-474-2500, or you can contact me directly at 270-564-9117. Let's navigate your next move together.
It's Insecto Exterminators! Bug out, guys!
Got some unwanted guests in or around your home?
You can have this house! It's got Insecto Exterminators for protection!
Call Insecto Exterminators today.
Insecto Exterminators has got you covered. Local professional service you can trust.
Welcome back. So let's get to the questions that are going to be very interesting for Joe here. So one question I have for you. What's harder, buying a property or managing tenants?
I think if you're talking about buying a single property, like a residential property, that tends to, if you're going to lease that space out, that to me seems easier. Managing multiple tenants with different concepts as far as commercial, you've got to kind of roll and be able to satisfy each of their needs because they're a different type business. Some of them may use a whole lot more HVAC needs, so to accommodate that, like you said earlier, where they have a lot of people in there. We had a nail salon and most of the people in coming in and out, but they all have their different need requirements. So you're meeting that need when you're buying a single property. You kind of know the need as far as what needs to be fixed up, how it needs to be redone to resell or to lease that space. So I kind of think having multiple tenants is probably a little more difficult.
Yes. So with multiple tenants, especially when we're talking apartment complex, I usually, and I've done it, but I think it's the hard way to do it, is purchase the property and manage it yourself. I actually don't recommend that. Now, sometimes you got to do what you got to do when you're first starting because management can cost 10% of gross, 12% of gross, and you can run into bad management even when they're supposed to be professional. But the thing is, when you manage it yourself, especially apartment complexes, there's constantly, toilets overflowing or getting stopped up or leaks or, somebody gets upset and gets in a fight, punches a hole through the wall. Constantly something happening. And a lot of the investors I know now, even the books that I've read on it, always said they end up buying that best investment property from a burnout owner.
Yeah.
Because they manage it themselves and runs them to death. And so that can easily for sure happen. So what's the one thing that new landlords underestimate?
Probably their expense. I mean, with all means expense of what you're going to have to do to keep that property up.
Right.
Second would be tenant turnover. That's a hard number. I mean, you can kind of guesstimate and look at track records.
Yes.
But you might say it's going to be 80% occupied. I know I'm going to have 20% less. You kind of keep those into your calculations. And all of a sudden it drops to 60 or 50 for some reason.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you're
sure.
really in a hole.
Yep.
So a lot of times you get a little nervous. You start leasing. Maybe you give a little bit better rent incentive with some free months rent or a less. But then you're kind of rolling that ball backwards again.
Yeah.
And so then when the expenses come in, you don't have as much capital to work with. So it's kind of a domino effect.
Right.
So keeping tenants happy is real important.
Yeah.
And hoping that, your rent is stable and right within the market, overinflated or underinflated.
Right. Just to add there, that is to me, I have found that is a challenging balance, keeping tenants happy, not overdoing it though at the same time, because, there are some tenants that are great. A lot of tenants are great, but there are some that is very demanding and you can end up spending way too much money and you're just in a loss situation. It's actually better off if they're not there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, but that has happened sometimes. And so you do have to have a balance. And again, going back to the lease, that can help keep things in balance as well. So let's talk about value add a little bit. And this is where money can be made. Okay. Have you made improvements that dramatically increased a property value? What was that?
Mostly increased value comes when I've done residential, and curb appeal is the first key factors. You got to get them to at least look at it. Second, old school bathroom and kitchen. Dated bathroom and kitchen is key to the purchaser.
Yeah.
A bedroom is often just a bedroom with a coat of paint.
Right.
But the frills that you feel comfortable that you're in your home and you have a updated bathroom or kitchen seems to be the most value added feature if you're talking about flipping or even for a rental space house.
Yeah. So what's one in particular remodel or one in particular renovation that you did that is the one that stands out that gave you the biggest return? You did this and it really surprised you and you're like, man, that really paid off.
Yeah, it's still, even though I'm pro commercial as far as investing commercial, I think the residential side of it for a person who can put sweat equity in and can go in there and do it as a DIY, but have enough knowledge not to make poor judgments or lack of skill level in there. I've seen that backfire.
Yeah.
But going in there and to be able to save the value of, create that value of you being able to do it, some of that stuff yourself without overstepping your grounds is key. That probably is on the residential side, the best turnaround I've had because I was able to had this construction experience or reach out to friends or videos and learn how to do that and have the right tools and operating to be able to make that flip most valuable.
Real quick, market advice. If someone called you today, had no investment property, wanted to build wealth, where would you tell them to begin?
I would have to say it depends on their skill level and ability to either manage a commercial property or be able to manage something they're very familiar with, a home.
Right.
So, and I would probably lean them toward an individual, toward a residential property. But if they had a little bit more funds and a little more active in it, then the return on the commercial side of it, I think, has a better long-term payout.
I completely agree with that. And you mentioned funds, which is a big thing, on the residential side of things. Funds are easier to get even from banks and things like that as well. And on the flip side, when you go to buy it, You got, I feel like, just a lot more people, first-time home buyers, things like this, that might be looking for that residential property. And so it can move faster than a commercial, and that can keep you out of a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. House or commercial? I think we know.
Commercial.
Okay. Old home or new construction?
I'm going to have to go with old home. Even though I know the build out process of new construction, I just think you're pretty much at the top of the level when you're building a new home, that there's just a little bit of a return value there.
Okay. All right, good. Pay cash or finance?
I mean, ideally, if you could pay cash, but now with interest being a little higher, if you could pay cash, you definitely. But years ago, when it was 2%, I kind of think if you could invest your money without the 2, and be able to take that 2 and take your own money and do other things, you're not losing a whole lot on that front. You might be able to gain 6% on your money, on your cash money.
Yeah.
So then you're only paying 4 for the 2. It's a little different right now, but I still think right now is a better buyer's market because interest is up, but the idea and what is out there is a good selection. And I think a lot of people sitting right on the sidelines waiting to invest, and then all of a sudden it's going to be supply and demand again, and the price house is going to go up, material is going to go up. Now's the time, in my opinion, to invest before the market changes.
All right. We're getting close to wrapping this up. I'm going to save one good question for him. When we come back, we're going to see what was the best investment he's ever made. We'll see you right back. Hello, I'm Brandon Wingate with the Wingate Group, real estate firm, McMinnville, Tennessee. I wanted to come to you today to let you know that there is a brokerage out there built for the success of agents. Are you tired of giving away a lot of your commission, hard-earned commission, when you're doing all you can to serve your clients? Well, we want you at our brokerage because I'm here to help you succeed. We have a 100% commission structure. We have an awesome brokerage. We have the Wingate Advantage radio show and podcast, which is generating leads and business like crazy. And I want to hand this off to you. I want to help you succeed. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Looking for reliable property services in McMinnville? T&Z Property Solutions has you covered. From mowing and landscaping to junk removal and even demolition, no job is too big or too small. They truly make your mess their mission. With T&Z, one call does it all. Contact T&Z Property Solutions today and let the professionals handle the hard work.
931-743-9079.
Listen here. Now, that ain't working. That's the way you do it.
All right. One last question for Joe. The best investment you've ever made, what was that?
My wife.
Yo!
For family, without a doubt. But with that said, though, too, as far as a financial investment, that probably falls right into play. Would definitely been that Murfreesboro particular property. From the land purchase, it was right at the time. Mm-hmm. The building cost was right in line, and then owning that for a period of 18 years and being able to build wealth off of that property would have been definite. Not that McMinnville's out of the question because things have really increased around here, but it was just the timing of when things were not moving quickly enough here and increased value, they were in Murfreesboro. So that's why I would say, but I'm a hometown guy here now, and that's where I want my money spent and earned here.
Okay. This is Joe Anish. He is an agent here at the Wingate Group. Now, I want to remind everybody, as you can tell and as you heard, we've got people that are highly skilled, especially in commercial property. Okay, if you're looking for a commercial property agent, Joe can definitely be your guy. He's highly skilled, very knowledgeable. So come and see us. If you've got commercial property, we are the brokerage that you're going to want to come and visit, see what we can do for you, see how we can line out investment properties for you. Joe, how can they reach you?
Well, you could reach me directly at the firm at 931-474-2500, or you can reach me on my cell phone pretty much all the time. I very seldom shut my phone off, 931-607-3231.
Awesome. And thank you again. And thanks, everybody, for listening to the show. Again, 931-474-2500 is the Wingate Group Real Estate Agency. You can reach us there, and we can handle your real estate transaction, whatever it might be. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you very much.
Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Money for nothing.